Welcome to the FEH Channel analysis. This is what we usually do after FEH Channels happen. So I'm going to look at it step by step, bit by bit, and we're going to see if we can pick up on things that I may have missed during my reaction earlier. My initial thoughts on the FEH Channel are indifferent. I think there were things that were not mentioned, so I'm not going to either say I'm very happy with it or necessarily baby rage about it. I think it's just, it was interesting. From like an entertainment perspective, I think I'm satisfied. It's just nice to get something new. But beyond that, I have to remain objective, and we're going to look at it bit by bit and see if there's some small details we may have missed while we were watching it. And yeah, then at the end of it, I'll give some details and further impressions on this whole thing as a whole. Probably by tomorrow, we're going to look at new units, which are beasts and look already broken just from the fact that they can move 3 spaces. But beyond that, you know, we still got to look at it in a proper way. There's details here we don't see. So beyond that, I'm going to look at things, of course, as I normally do. All the new units come out, how the Hero Fest relates, what about the new Legendary Hero, all these kind of Mythic Heroes, sorry, Mythic Hero, new seasons, how it affects Ether raids, arenas, arena assault, and such. But we need more details once the patch releases and the data miners do their hard work. So anyways, let's go bit by bit into it. And I won't be like watching through it. I actually usually do this on like 2 times speed to go through it really quickly and then pause in the middle of the video to find little things and talk about them or my thoughts on it. If you want to see my reaction, just go watch the other video, which should be released before this one. Okay, anyways, let's get into this. So, FEH Channel Book 3, here it is. For a 10-minute video. Okay, so here's our trailer. This girl apparently was Air, which is our brand new Mythic Hero. My first impressions on her is, well, as you will find out later, she's a flying sword unit. At least that's what we saw from her sprite, and that's already a way better free unit than Fjorm ever was. Just without even knowing what her skills and her weapon is, because yeah, I mean, oh sorry, she's colorless. Sorry. She couldn't be a sword unit. I figured she had a sword in her. Maybe that's a staff, though. Maybe a dagger. Right. So she's a colorless unit and flying. And that's already really good because for a couple of reasons. If you guys have ever watched me use any of my footage using F-Grima or my opinion of F-Grima, F-Grima is like a unit with very little weaknesses, and it's because you're colorless. Colorless units, and Niles too when I use them. Colorless is a really like broken... potentially broken type of unit because the only checks you have between units is just stat checks, and if you pump enough stats into a unit, they pretty much can clear everything. So you know, use Niles with M-Corin, use F-Grima with M-Corin, summoner supports, ally supports, and you become like these really strong units that don't really care about the weapon triangle. It becomes like a stat thing. So because of that, she's already miles above Fjorm. Without even looking at stats, really, I feel she's going to be really strong. The fact that she's on a Hero Fest, as we'll see later, is also really good if you want to get a good head start into this new Mythic Hero business. Whether we should invest orbs into that yet, just wait. Like, we don't know stats yet, and we don't know the effects of these blessings and what's to come yet. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, so apparently this guy's just creepy, and I don't really have much to say about him. Yeah, there's not much to say about him. Let's move on. So this is like apparently pretty intense. There's Loki, which was very interesting to me, and Veronica as well. Because they were near Alphonse and Sharina, I'm just going to assume they're like allies now? They're not the bad guys anymore? She looks actually really concerned. Also, why is she wearing, like, does she have a tome? Like, we haven't even gotten that version of Veronica yet. Come on, IS. This looks like the moon. Moon's like crashing on us, Majora's Mask. These 2 guys are apparently the generals from this new book, but we don't really know much more about them. And we have the crazy music. He's got a sword. I guess he's, yeah. Yeah, interesting that you can see, like, just interesting designs, just different, which I'm okay with. Here is a big spoiler scene with what looks to be Hell completely dominating Sharina. And she looks upset because Alphonse is trapped. And rip. At least it looks like a rip. But maybe it's just a bait. And maybe she's not actually dead. But he looks pretty upset and she looks pretty dead. Yeah, that looks pretty dead to me. That's unfortunate. I kind of like Sharina and I kind of like Alphonse. So I hope they stay alive. But maybe this... like, how could they kill Sharina? She's like a permanent character for us. You don't just like kill a character that we have. I guess we're just going to summon her from a different world or something, right? Yeah, we're just going to remove her from the barracks. But we didn't see Fjorm there either, so who knows what happened to her. Maybe she just dies right away. Yeah, so let's hear Fat talk.
This is breaking news, summoners. Book 3 of the main story is just about here. It's
Yep.
time for a special book 3 edition of FEH Channel.
2 times speed.
Book 3
Perfect.
has new location, the realm.
So, yeah, it looks like better design overall.
Characters that'll appear. I'm so excited to introduce
This... The story, like, already seems more interesting. This is an interesting design. Like I said, I'm more when it comes to analysis of like the actual mechanics of a game, but this gives me a vibe that's either very like religious or cultural, or I don't know whether it's Greek mythology. It's like something I've studied before, but I can't put my finger on it. Where you have like a light and darkness, or death and holy, or something like that. It's at Norse mythology. That's what it is. It's Norse mythology, right? So that's where it seems to come from. It also kind of explains some things like the Niffle from Fjorm and some of the weapon names in the game. His Fire Emblems always seem to have a lot of inspiration from Norse mythology. So yeah. And yeah, so that's really cool. It's got all that stuff here. It looks like Alphonse is like fighting for Sharina versus the big baddies, and there's some more baddies here. Maybe it'll be far more interesting than somebody like Serdar. So it looks like, yeah, it definitely looks like dead, like flowers, and she's at the top, and you're fighting for it. It's like a funeral kind of thing. Like, you know, as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, we're getting her for free. It's like definitely the Fjorm, right? Princess again. We always get the princess. So maybe this is like the Serdar or something? He said the ruler of the dead. His name's Hell. Death Sovereign. Yes, Sovereign. Yeah, that seems like this is the big baddie, right? It looks like a she, honestly, with how long his hair is. Her hair. It's got like skulls over here too. Jeez. Very creepy stuff. Oh, is this actually a girl? Why does it look so masculine? I'm so confused, guys. Look on her face. Okay, it's definitely a girl. Yep, that's definitely a girl. Her picture. I got confused. I got baited. That was a well-played bait. I thought that was a male the whole time. Okay. This is why I don't do this is why I don't look at this stuff in the first place. You got me, IS. You got me. That is definitely a female, apparently. Okay, so you got your 2 new generals, or important people. This is like Legion and Levitine or something. I mean, like, you get your additional cast. I'm sure there's gonna be more characters added later. His inspiration feels very like Xenoblade 2 to me, or something from like X-Men or something like that. I don't know. They're Leif? Oh, a Leif that people actually care about. Plus he's got a sword and a witch. So she's like a green tome user and he's a sword user. It seems like that's pretty obvious. We know because we see later in the combat screen that she was wielding a green tome. Death. What? The enemy? Are you Lynn now? We're nowhere near the border. Okay, there's Anna. She didn't get showcased at all. So we saw Leif had a sword there. That was quite obvious. But one other interesting thing here that we can see, and not in this particular image, but the one after. Right here, we can see that Thrasir is her name. Thrasir. She's wielding a green tome, but we can see that a generic flying dragon is now added as part of the generic enemies. This is kind of a callback to before when we had, I believe it was dragons in general, just generic dragon enemies added to the game back in book 2. So now they've added generic flying dragons. That's going to make some maps probably more annoying, but would increase the value of stuff like bow users and whatnot. The bow users were already pretty good, so.
Book 3 is totally different from the rest of the story. The tension in the air is so thick, I can
So it looks like she's using wind from that specific one.
There are more goodies coming at 11 p.m. in the update. Let's dive into some of those now.
Okay.
Get ready for some new season.
New season. Whoa. Okay, so we're gonna have to talk about this a little bit, but let her explain it.
Wind and earth. Starting December 10th. These seasons are light,
Dark anima. Okay, cool. So we already knew, those of you that keep up with spoilers, and thank you Intern Kun for releasing an image that kind of gave this away. We already knew there was going to be light and dark, but we didn't know about Astra and Anima. This is completely new to us, but it all makes sense now. So instead of adding new legendary heroes, they're going to add a new type of hero called a Mythic Hero. And this is I mean, it's not a big surprise to me. I was saying months ago that once the legendary hero system was finished, that they were likely going to add a new type of, you know, Omega hero or something, like an Omega legendary hero. And yeah, that's what happened. So Mythic Heroes. And the reason they do this is to make sure that there's still progression in the game, that once people complete their legendary heroes, they have a new thing to work towards. And the game will honestly always be like this. Once Mythic Heroes are done, there's going to be super awesome old ultra omega legendary mythical beast heroes, and you know, when that happens, then there's going to be a new version of that, a new version of that, and that's the way the game keeps going. It keeps progressing, and that's normal and expected, and honestly a good thing, because if people completed their projects, eventually they would get bored, and if they get bored, they quit. So this is fine, at least as a progression thing. Now we don't know whether it's negative on the game as a whole, greedy, or just, you know, it kind of depends how they handle this. And as we'll see later, I'm quite optimistic with it. Let's go through it a little bit more.
The 4 new seasons will operate on a different cycle than the 4 current seasons. And
Different cycle from the current 4 seasons. We'll see in an image just in a moment what she's talking about.
have an effect on aether rays. There will also be new
Okay, so for those of you that play Aether Raids seriously, you'll understand that it was actually impossible to reach tier 21 with how much ether regen we were gaining per week and how much you needed plus the ether cost. It was actually impossible to reach tier 21 beyond tier 20. So you basically need these new blessings to increase your score, I'm guessing. Think of like Arena Assault. You play Arena Assault, you bring your water heroes into water season, and you gain additional score on Arena Assault. So this is basically what Aether Raids is going to be. You're going to need different team comps on offense, maybe even defense, I'm not even sure. But you're going to need them to get additional score and additional score to get higher rankings. So with that, you limit team comp variety. You probably get different buffs and such, but unfortunately, this is probably not the way we want Aether Raids to go towards. It doesn't seem like you need the legendary heroes themselves, as she says in just a moment.
new blessings to go with these 4 new seasons. At first, I thought that meant more variations would be available for legendary
Uh-huh.
heroes. But the effect for these new blessings won't be tied to legendary heroes.
So the effects won't be tied to legendary heroes. Well, they're referring to mythic heroes. You're right. So she's confirming that mythic heroes will provide these blessings, but I don't think that Aether Raids requires a mythic hero. I don't think they'll do that. That would really make it unfair, because I don't think mythic heroes, well, maybe mythic heroes might be on a mythic banner or something, but the fact that the first mythic hero is on a hero fest maybe implies that legendary banners might cease to exist. Let's see.
Instead, they'll be tied to a different type of hero entirely. Drum roll, please. Mythic heroes.
Ooh.
Divine. The honor of being the first mythic hero ever belongs to
Air.
You remember
Yep.
the one with the sad eyes? Air's
Sad
mythical
eyes.
I can't wait to see what her mythic effect does.
She's the princess of death, but then she gets light, right? Okay. Summoning event, Hero Fest.
Now for the
So,
heroes. Away will be
okay,
red.
this is
Blue will be green.
okay. This is interesting. This is pretty much my impressions of this banner before. Like, I'm not going to do a should you summon on a Hero Fest. I'm not going to do that. So hopefully you pick it up from here on whether I think of this banner. But we're going to add error here. Okay, so this tells me something. This tells me that instead of creating like a mythic banner at the end of the month, maybe they're going to scrap the whole idea of a legendary banner and make it easier to pick up mythic heroes, because this is already a lot easier to pick up a mythic hero than it is to pick up a legendary hero. Anyone who summoned for a legendary hero or even sniped on legendary banners knows exactly what I'm talking about. You pretty much need like 200 orbs average to get like a particular unit on legendary banner, because there's too many focus units. But a Hero Fest is a 5% starting rate, and it has like a 3% pity rate. That's fine. It's pretty much the same as legendary banner, but the difference here is that sniping for particular units is easier than it is on legendary banners. In this particular example, I don't have the math off the top of my head, but like air here would probably be maybe 100 to 120 orbs. I think maybe 100 to 140 is my guess for picking up one copy, which is far less expensive overall for getting like a +10 air. So that means that if you're targeting mythic heroes, it's probably easier. And that's okay. This could be a good and a bad thing. So if you need these units in AR to compete, it's a bad thing because they're really forcing you to summon. Legendary heroes already kind of forced you to play with them in arena, but you could get top rankings without a legendary hero merged up and using the blessing system. You just needed really high scoring units. So if the mythic heroes are required in AR, then that mode is going to suffer for people that don't spend money to basically get every single mythic hero. I mean, you could probably save orbs and pick one up every single time if they continue this Hero Fest thing, but you pretty much wouldn't summon for anything else other than mythic heroes, or especially if you got something bad out of it. As for the other units on this banner, all good options actually. So Owain and red comes with Blue Flame, which is kind of like a better option than Ether or Gale Force. Gale Force is pretty good, but definitely a better option than like Ether in a lot of situations when playing Arena or Arena Assault where you need to optimize score. It also comes with Attack Defense Bond, which is okay. It's not really the best, but those like Blue Flame and that are already gonna set him pretty far ahead when it comes to fodder. In your blue pool, you got Ophelia. She comes with Chill Res, and she herself is just like one of the best units in the game because she's just by far the best nuker in the game with an AoE special. Plus, she does have that Rally Up Attack Plus, which is really important for scoring. So with the rate up, that's really important if you wanted to get some score increases. And Lewin here, as a unit, he's pretty good, but there's definitely other options, especially in green. Like you could get away with like using Nino. You don't really need like Lewin like for sure. Like he's kind of interesting because you don't have to set up Desperation on his tome, but like Nino can pretty much, you know, Ground Blade, Fury, Desperation. You have almost the same output, but it just requires a little bit of a setup. But the thing that he really does bring to the table here is Special Spiral, and Special Spiral makes so many units in this game ridiculously good. Like and the fact that he's on a Hero Fest means you should probably pick up a copy of Special Spiral if any of your units are needing of that thing, right? So like just a couple examples, like Lilina, literally Ophelia right beside him, and Lilina as like some prime candidates for Special Spiral are really good units. You could even do like Black Knights or Zelgius, but those, you know, like I'm not a huge fan of like armors right now, but AoE Mage is huge, definitely. So good banner overall, and since it's a rate up increase, it means you're gonna get good value. The summon tickets, which will be mentioned in a second, are also something important to consider.
Don't snooze through this one, summoners. And the news only gets better from here.
This is like such a bait. This is like the funniest bait I've ever seen. Like they're just like, we're not going to actually talk about Tibarn. Here's this brand new thing related to summoning.
Thanks for delivering this. This update brings first summon tickets. If you have a first summon ticket, you don't need to use 5 orbs when you start summoning.
Okay.
Let's see how a summoning with one of...
Okay, so here's some important things to recognize right away from this summon ticket business. First of all, summon tickets are tied to the banner itself. This was confirmed by FEH in the channel itself, but basically we will be accumulating summon tickets at a pace decided by them, by IS, and it's tied to the banners that they choose to give us summon tickets for. I want to also point this out. If you look at the top left, you'll see that there are 4 seasons now there. This means that our current seasons are not going away and they will continue to rotate. And that means if you invested in Legendary Heroes, they will still retain their value. This is good. This is a good move. I'm very happy about this. I'm glad they didn't just throw it away and say, lol, if you invested in Legendary Heroes, tough luck, buddy. But yeah, it's literally, they're going to stay there. And now we get those 2 new seasons. The 2 new seasons, those ones are going to be relevant for ether rate scoring, but the old ones are not relevant for ether rate scoring. And that's still, like, it's unfortunate, but I mean, they got to make sure some people, you know, don't just play with the same stuff over and over, and they got to make sure people do progress in the game, as I mentioned earlier. So you got your 2 seasons there and 2 here. We don't know if these 2 new seasons affect Arena yet, but I'm going to take an assumption here that they do affect Arena. That's my guess here. I think they might, because if you look at Air herself, she has the symbol for what would be res. I think this is the res symbol. So I'm assuming she gives res as a buff. But the thing is, yeah, it looks like res. So if you're giving additional stats to units, it kind of implies that they have to like change arena scoring. They have to affect arena scoring. That's how they kind of balance blessings in the first place. So I think they should function. My prediction is they'll function the same as other blessings, and you can use these new ones in arena as well for scoring. So yeah, but the 2 new blessings, these ones definitely, and the other 2 ones, Anima and Astra, are specific to ether raids, with new ones probably also affecting legacy content. Anyways, let's talk about the summon ticket a little bit. So how do you utilize a summon ticket in the most effective way? Okay, so right away I can tell you guys, summon tickets are made as a way to make you spend orbs. It's just literally genius of them to do that, but you have to be smart about it. So it'll increase your pity rate. That means it'll make you want to summon more. Pity rates are usually a trap. Mathematically, they don't really affect your odds of getting a 5-star that much until their rate increases above, let's say, 4%, or in this case, like 6% on a Hero Fest, or even more, like 7%. They need to increase by a lot for a pity rate to actually mathematically affect your odds of getting an additional 5-star. That wouldn't have happened without a pity rate. That's the thing that people miss. If the pity rate wasn't there, would you have gotten that 5-star? The mathematical correct answer to that is yes, you would have got the 5-star there regardless of the pity rate, and the pity rate doesn't always work that way. So summon tickets are made in a way to make you summon with more value and increase your pity rate, and then once your pity rate is higher, you're like, oh, you know, like I gotta just finish this banner. So they give you enough summon tickets to increase your pity rate. Once your pity rate is higher, you feel obligated to finish off your pity rate, resulting in more orbs wasted. So it's harder to do this. Like, it's harder to save orbs if you fall for those type of psychological traps. The best way to use a free summon ticket is literally just free summon. That's it. Just take your free fodder, your free units, and walk away. That's literally the best way to do it. So that's what I've been doing with free summons for like ever. Honestly, I just go in, I go for what I need for fodder, or what I might have a good statistical probability to pick up a specific unit. But the summon ticket definitely is like, you know, they want to trap you into getting value out of your orbs, and it is good value if you need particular units, and you get enough colors that show up in the summoning circle. That's another thing that's very important here. Like, you have to show, the game has to show you like 3 or 4 red orbs in a free summon ticket to honestly give you value out of the free summon ticket. Otherwise, you're just getting as like a free unit. So that's kind of like my first impression of free summon ticket. Be careful with this thing. Know yourself and how you play into it.
Now these tickets works. As usual, you use your free summon, and then also use this ticket to start another summoning session for free. We don't call you summoners for nothing, you know?
Yes. Sakura.
Wow, thanks to this ticket, I have a new ally. I'll be counting on you. If you want to continue summoning in the same session, you'll need to use orbs.
So
Summon again with another ticket.
So this basically confirms that it functions exactly the same way as a free summon. You'll spend 15 orbs to complete the circle. But that's the thing. Do you need the full circle? Do you only get the value if you complete the full circle, or literally the first unit? Otherwise, you're just increasing your pity rate. and wasting orbs.
Ticket, you'll first need to end your current summoning session. First summoned tickets will only be good during the summoning event they're associated with. After the event is over, those tickets expire.
And there it is. So you can't hoard these tickets. They're pretty much obligated to be spent before it expires. And you got to play smart using them. You got to spend them all, but don't fall into the trap of spending your orbs instead.
First summon tickets will be introduced during the next Hero Fest. Make sure to summon away before it expires. Starting January, first summon tickets will also be given out as rewards during forging.
So this is mentioned as Fez' first time to give out these tickets. Forging Bonds now actually has additional rewards in this case, which is pretty cool. I thought it already gave pretty good feather income, and I definitely appreciated that. So now we get more tickets. This will probably be used on the Hero Fest. Let's see, actually, this is a yellow ticket, and this one is a blue one. So I'm assuming that this one is correlated to the new Beast units, because the Beast units were not shown as a banner. So this blue ticket definitely is, I would assume, is definitely associated with the new Beast units.
Rewards during Forging Bonds events. There's even more news about the Forging Bonds event, summoners. I'm being told the new heroes featured in January's Forging Bonds events will come from Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn.
Yep.
Here's a sneak peek of one of the new heroes, Tibarn. He's a new type of unit that can transform into a...
Okay, so here we go. It's very important to look at this. Okay, so Tibarn starts as a non-beast unit. And you see he actually has a color. I'm trying to get Nyla. There's Nyla. She's a blue wolf, or like a blue beast. I think it's just blue beast. And Tibarn here is a red beast. You can actually see these new icons. They do not have like a weapon, but they have a color. So that means like Sharina would be effective against Tibarn, and Nyla would be effective against like Alphonse, for example. So they're just going to follow the same color rules. But what's interesting here is we see Tibarn start off not transformed, and he transforms. Now, as soon as he transformed, he gained a boot symbol. Before he transformed, he did not have that boot symbol. If we actually reverse, you'll see Tibarn had a buff, but not a boot symbol. So this is kind of similar to how it worked in Radiant Dawn and Path of Radiance. When you transformed your beast units, they gained additional like stats and skills, and I assume that's the exact same way it works here. Like I don't know confirmation for sure, but that's how I assume it works. They're going to be like weak, maybe they can't even fight outside their beast forms. They transform and then they become really good. So we'll see if that actually is the case, but you'll see he transforms. We don't know what the condition for that is. There's no additional and there's nothing here that indicates that there's a bar, or it's not even the special, because we see that the special is ready for him and it's not ready for Nyla. It could be that the special turns him into a beast for a single turn, and that's why Nyla didn't transform. But that's ridiculous. So he just gained 3 movement as a flying unit. Ridiculous. Actually ridiculous. Okay. Okay, so colorless dagger user. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Okay, yeah. So that pretty much concludes our FEH Channel analysis. Honestly, there wasn't anything more to it, but like I said in the beginning, if you are walking into this like disappointed, I say wait for that. Don't necessarily walk into this disappointed, and just be patient, see what new sort of stuff comes in. Let's wait for stats, let's wait for skill information, let's wait for how these blessings affect the game. And yeah, let's just wait. I'm not going to be patient, and I feel like they definitely missed some things here from the FEH Channel. There's definitely something more to come, I feel like. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. As always, if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. It does help out a lot. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. Love you all. See you in the next video. Peace.